Now, first of all, just get me, if you can, provide us with what Labour would try and do to try and get these two men back. Do you think it's time now for the Russian ambassador to be called in?
Well, this is a really concerning situation, certainly for the families of Aidan Aslan and for Sean Pinner. Aidan Aslan's from not too far down the road from here in Nottinghamshire. These are legitimate combatants. These are prisoners of war and as such have significant rights. They should not have been tried by the tribunal that they have been in the way that they have been. As a result, those rights aren't being upheld. I think it's really important that we send a strong message back from this country of our unity on this, that these gentlemen must have their rights and they must be treated properly as they should be under the Geneva Convention, as Robin Walker said. So, diplomatic efforts now must start. We heard from Ali, your correspondents, that now there's a little bit of time for that to take place. That now must happen. Whether that's calling the ambassador or whatever other channels are open, we must use all of them and show a united front that we expect their rights to be upheld.
OK, thank you for that, Alex. Let's just bring you back to some domestic issues then, if we can, and the cost of living crisis. I mean, we've seen petrol prices increasing every single day at the pump. What would a Labour government do to try and make sure that people can afford to fill their tanks?
Well, from talking to constituents, there is so much anxiety about their ability to even get to work because of the cost now of travel to do so. We think it was significant, the action we secured on the windfall tax the week before last, and that will start to filter through and help people. But what we called for then and what we're calling for now is an emergency budget that helps tackle the things that are pushing up prices and that are putting so many pressures on people. And that could involve cancelling the national insurance rise, cutting business rates for small businesses, finding ways to get money into people's pockets and to tackle inflation. We need that now. What we've got at the moment is just this kind of slow drift from the government and hope that things will get better.
So I think I picked up there, you said you might cancel the national insurance rise. Is that the only idea that the Labour Party have?
No, that's one that would have the most direct and most significant impact and would be part of an emergency budget. But I also talked about cutting business rates for small businesses as well. That would help the high streets going too and help with jobs as well. We need a full emergency budget because this is an emergency situation. This is pressures on living that frankly have not been seen in my lifetime. And what we've got at the moment isn't enough. So we're calling for that emergency budget so we can take significant action to make life easier for people because they're really struggling at the moment.
And Mr. Norris, as you know, a budget will be coming in a few months' time. I mean, the argument would be that if you do an emergency budget now and you make changes to how the country's finances look, you'll have to do it again in the autumn because these issues that we're facing are not going away.
Yeah, well, I think this is going to need, sustained action. I mean, the answer's kind of in the question there. We just got to ask people, ask our neighbours, ask my constituents, can you wait a few more months for action? The message I'm getting back very clearly is that they cannot wait. So that's why I think we have to act now rather than kind of hoping we can drift to the autumn, because I think that would be really hard for lots and lots of people if we did that.
What about a cut in green taxes? Is that something Labour would support?
Which ones are you referring to there?
Oh, taxes designed to make sure that we get to our net zero commitments.
I mean, I think that, trying to address our challenges, there are many ways. I've mentioned a couple that we could use. I don't think compromising on our net zero goals would be the way to do that, because actually what we know from failing to tackle climate change is that that only puts up bills in the end, as well as obviously threatening the planet in its existence at all. So I wouldn't support that. I don't think that's the right thing to do. There are other things we could do more quickly. So that's why we should be getting to Parliament, having an emergency budget and doing that.
Let's move you on then, if we can, Alex, to some things that are facing all of us who use public transport this summer. That is the looming train strike. Is Labour in support of industrial action for these railway workers who are going to walk out over 3 days?
Well, as a traveller and with constituents who are travelling too, of course, we would rather see that there aren't strikes. But when there are issues for people about their pay and their ability to sustain their family's finances at a time like this, when there are issues too about safety, those are an important part of these negotiations as well. Then people have the right to withdraw their labour. I hope we can avoid that. I think we can avoid that too. The government need to get a grip of this. They've let this drift. Negotiations are scheduled, I believe, over the next few days. Let's get round the table, cool heads. I don't think that the workers want to strike either. Let's get this negotiated. Let's get a fair deal, and let's get keep trains and public transport moving.
And what do you think a fair deal would look like then for these rail workers? I mean, they're saying that their paying conditions haven't improved for many, many years. Do you think that they should be paid more?
Well, of course. I mean, this is the chickens coming home to roost as well for 10 years of bad government policy on pay that's held back, people's living conditions. And now that bills have spiked as they are, it's made life incredibly difficult. Let's not forget, let's not lose sight. These are key workers. These are the people we were clapping for because they're keeping the country going at their own personal risk when we needed them to. So, of course, I think it's entirely reasonable that they're asking for proper pay so they can feed their families. Of course, that's the right thing.
And as you know, though, key workers will be affected by this strike because they won't be able to get to work on the trains.
Yeah, which is why, as I say, we hope that that's avoidable. I don't think it's. I used to be a union organizer myself. I know that this is always your kind of action of last resort. I know that staff don't enjoy doing it because they love providing the service they provide and helping people get on with their lives and working with their customers. So of course it's the last thing we want to see. But they need to be treated properly at work. They need to be able to feed their families, and they need to be safe at work. Those are very, very reasonable demands that all of us would ask for. So now's the time for cool heads. Let's get this negotiated. Let's get a fair deal, and let's keep the public transport moving.
Okay, Alex Norris, Shadow Levelling Up Minister, thank you very much for your time this morning.